You ever see a racehorse with the blinders on? Put them on, get your own personal blinders from when you're little, and when you start training, do not compare yourself to anyone because you are always in a competition with yourself. That old adage, that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. You know the deal.
Absolutely.
Find your own authenticity, but definitely put those blinders on because if you keep worrying about the people around you, you'll never get your own thing going. So.
Dominic, great to have you here. From one Dominic to another Dominic.
Incredible.
You are a musician that I admire. I've seen you perform.
Thank you.
You are on this wave that is very exciting.
Sure.
And I really want this message to be captured because this next generation, as they see what you're doing and what you're building and the great talent that you have, they need to hear your story and your message.
Sure.
So tell me, first of all, musically, where did this all start for you?
So at a young age, I was a big sports guy. I liked sports, but I also had this want and need and love for music. And so right out of high school, I got signed to a record deal. Hakeem Bell, who is Kool and the Gang's son, was like, you need to be a solo artist and sing. I was like 13. I would sing at his house and his dad would be there. And a couple of years later, the group thing was happening, like the guy group stuff.
Right.
So we put together a guy group and we got signed right out of high school to Sony Records. Tommy Mottola watched us and was like, sign him, and like snapped his finger, gave us like a signing bonus. Next thing you know, we signed with them and we worked with Michael Bivins, and then we actually wind up getting signed by Matthew Knowles, who was Beyonce's father. I was supposed to go to Mason Gross acting school, but the choice would go on tour with Destiny's Child or this, so I chose that. And fast forward, it actually ended up not in our favor. A couple things happened managerially with him, but we traveled the country, 26 cities with Christina Aguilera, Destiny's Child, recorded a $1 million album, but it just never got released. And next thing you know, I was doing 20,000 seat stadiums, and then I was waiting tables at Joe's Bar and Grill going, what just happened to my life?
Interesting.
That's how it started. Early on, I'm a big fan of acting. That's one of the crafts of acting. That's my favorite thing in the world. And so to add the musicianship to it is wonderful too. But this was something that really kind of was tough to deal with at first, obviously, as you could probably, we had it.
Absolutely.
You know?
First of all, this is rare that it happened that way.
Very rare. When I tell the story, they're like, what? My friends hardly know because I kind of keep it to myself.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just that, and we 26 city tour, went to Ireland, England. We were on the precipice, and what happened was, not to get into too much detail, Matthew Knowles was creating Music World or something to that effect, and so he wanted us on that label, and so it was like kind of a stalled thing, and you know the attention spans of the young girls or whoever was there, and the music industry changed too, so the bands were coming back, like the musical, like the rock guys were coming, so it was kind of kicking us out of the way, and then next thing you know, it was kind of over.
So here you are now, you're at the situation, you've got this experience now from traveling.
Yes.
What was it like on the road the way it was as a kid?
That time was great. I'm a very excessive person, so there's some choices that I probably would have made that I wouldn't have made. My father's an FBI agent, and so he's very hands-on with us on our behavior, but he allows us to live our lives. It was extravagant because it was Sony Records, and at that time they were spending a lot of money on artists and acts and stuff, So we were traveling in buses and all in first class, plane rides, sitting next to Beyonce, so that didn't hurt, But it was also rigorous and crazy, and you're away, and it's hard work, and that whole thing, that adage about it being hard work is true all the way around. But it was a dream come true, and I resented it for a while, but now looking back, it shaped me, and it's something like you said, that who gets a chance to get a record deal and sing for Donny Ienner and Tommy Mottola in an office at Sony and get signed, and then meet, next thing you know, 2 weeks later we're on tour with Destiny's Child, Christina Aguilera. It's crazy. So,
where do you think the singing talent came from? Where did that musical ability come from?
It's interesting. I didn't inherit it from my parents, but when I was young, I actually studied opera. When I was like 11 years old, as I said, I was a big fan of sports, so I wasn't really thinking about acting. But then this teacher named Jay Gitter, he was from high school, wonderful man. He actually started me. He's like, why don't you audition for Grease and a play, or come sing this aria? And I had this like manly operatic voice at like early, and so I took a liking to opera, and that's kind of how I started realizing that I had a bit of a vocal group, and it was an easy way to get girls. So I jumped into Grease and I did Danny Zuko, and then it really just was like, oh, this is cool, So I was able to juggle the sports and the acting and the singing that way. So.
Well, I love the music and the acting thing. Mickey Dolenz, who's a phenomenal actor himself
So talented.
and musician. It was interesting. I had an interview with him, and it's the balance of those two crafts.
Yes.
How do you balance the two of them?
Well, maybe fast forwarding to now, I'm playing the role of Frankie Valli. I don't know if you wanted to, but I
Absolutely,
did that on
yeah.
Broadway for 8 years, and so there's a lot of great singers. There's a lot of great actors, but there's certain people that could, hopefully I could be one of them, is that could tell a story of the song.
Right.
You know, you hear a beautiful voice and, oh, that voice is great, but if you could see somebody like really deliver a song, that's the acting, and you could marry those two things together, which is very hard because, you know, as a performer, you're always thinking about what can go wrong, or is my voice in shape, or so to be able to lose yourself with the acting performance as well as the music and trying to balance those two things out. I'm passionate about both. There's certain reasons why I'm passionate about both. The music comes harder for me. The acting is a little more instinctually. I had to work a little bit harder at the vocal stuff.
Right.
Certain shows you get that moment where you're like, man, I'm hitting on both cylinders, and there's nothing better than that. Because
Absolutely.
you see people go, you know, you see them, the sentimentality and the emotion that goes through their. Not that I should be staring at the audience, but sometimes I peek, and there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how it is.
There's
You're
a certain
hitting somebody,
feeling that just, it's magic at the highest level.
and they tell you.
I saw the show Jersey Boys
Yeah.
several times. Fantastic, absolutely
great, right?
fantastic. What was it like doing that with the intensity of that show?
Man, I'm from Jersey, and I was actually born in Belleville, where Frankie Valli was born and raised, and his kids and stuff, right?
Fantastic.
So getting this role was dream come true. My whole family went crazy, my dad, everybody. So, but the vocals, I was a baritone tenor singer, and I wasn't like, you know, didn't have Frankie's voice, so I watched as much as I could. And there were notes that I didn't have when I booked the role. So I was always like nervous. They threw me in, they gave me 9 days. I never really had any fancy training, you know what I mean? I went took a lot of the acting classes, but I didn't go to college. I didn't get a lot of voice lessons. So I'm literally like stage left, stage right. What am I doing? Holy, you know, crazy, right? But it was one of the most rewarding things ever because you saw the show, the spectrum of age and emotion and loss and gain.
Absolutely.
And you're a rock star every night,
Yeah.
but I love the scene work stuff. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Mentally, physically, I broke down. I just had vocal cord surgery. You know, those things come as a musician, and you're just like, what happened, man? What am I doing as an actor? And you're literally thinking, I'm going under the knife to cut these cords, and now, you know, you come out smelling like a rose, but it's scary. But I gave everything I had to that role, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I broke down at the end, but that's how I wanted it to go. You know? That's how it should be. You know?
What was it like with the rehearsals for that show? Was it?
Well, interestingly enough, I'll tell any kids that are actors, I say, learn improv because they don't give you any time. You jump in, and I never worked with the director. I hardly worked with the choreographer. I had 9 days to learn 27 songs and 2.5 hours worth of Frankie Valli information. And I kind of did it in a room with the dance captain. And then next you're on stage, and next you do it, and you have your put in, and you go. So it's shot out of a cannon. Still to this day, everybody was like, were you ever comfortable? And I tell them, absolutely not. 8 years later, October 16th, my last show, I was still freaking out. Because there was always that sense of urgency and like fear of not being able to hit certain notes, and because it's unnatural singing stuff. Frankie couldn't even sing his own stuff 8 shows a week, 6 shows a week and whatever. So there was always that tie to it, but that excitement, I miss it. It was amazing. It was like nothing I've ever experienced.
And listen, Frankie Valli has got his own sound. He's got
Well, there
his
you
own
go.
style.
You know, it's like somebody trying to be Elvis, somebody trying to be Sinatra.
Absolutely.
They're them.
Yeah.
You're trying to, you know, the voice, and the squeakiness and all that stuff. That we had a great voice teacher, Katie Agresta. She teaches all the greats. She kept us in good health. She's an operatic teacher too.
Yeah,
but she's the rock teacher.
I know Katie. She's
yeah,
fantastic.
You know her. She's wonderful.
Yeah,
so
she's
she saved
fantastic.
my life.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go to her every week to just fix me, just so I can get back on stage.
She is one of the top vocal coaches
She's a best friend
in the world.
Absolutely. She's my best friend. She's like my sister.
Oh,
She's
is that great?
Yeah, we're like this. I love her.
So you worked with her at an intense level.
Well, interestingly enough, I wanted the role really bad, and I couldn't get an audition, and I sought her out because she taught the original guy, John Lloyd, and I said if she could teach him how to do it. And so I paid for it out of my own pocket and my father's, and I went to her like a couple months before a possible audition to get me ready, because I knew she would be the one to get me ready, and she did, and then I got it, and it was crazy. I started in Vegas, and then the producers came and saw me, and after I was supposed to be there a year, after 20 shows, they brought me to Broadway. So I was making my Broadway debut like out of nowhere, and it was nuts. It's nuts.
What happens, I mean, even with your family, the closest of your family, What happened with all that? What was their vibe? They must have been going crazy.
My father was so like my father makes this thing. It's actually hilarious. He says the sun shined over most of these guys' houses, Sinatra, Elvis, and it shined over my house. And so he was a cop, and he was the first one to get a degree. So you would think he would be hard on me, but he's like, my brother, you be a lawyer. Dom, you're being an actor. That's it. The first time he saw me perform, so he's been my biggest fan still to this day.
Wow.
Still trying to get hooks. And they used to joke, the Dodgers, the production company, like, we have to keep you in the show just for ticket sales, because every show I'd have like 400 people in the audience. The first show I ever had in Vegas, I told my parents, like, Dad, I'm not ready. Don't tell anybody to come. He's like, yeah, of course. I jump on stage, the first like 4 rows, 30 people, all my family right there. I was like, of course. So they've been unbelievable. Still to this day, I could sing in the corner of this room, and my whole family would be here.
How beautiful.
How lucky.
How beautiful.
I'm very lucky.
That kind of support is absolutely magical.
It is.
For sure. Now the acting part of it, how do you balance the acting part of it?
You know, I've read all the books I possibly could. Mason Gross School of the Arts and Acting School would have been an amazing experience. I didn't do very well in school. I didn't apply myself, but they let me go there, and it literally was go on tour with Destiny's Child or go to acting school. So, and it might have been a little bit different for me, the training that I would have gotten there, but acting is so instinctual. It's literally just what we're kind of doing right now.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways to approach it. I studied method acting, which I really, really love.
Yeah.
Meisner, I didn't really connect with too much, but you're just always working. You're always doing something. I'm looking at people, I'm smelling things, I'm feeling things out, because I could play you someday, and I could play a character like this. So I'm always stealing. They say the best actors steal. So I feel like I'm always studying, always learning, always trying to get better at it. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it's a very technologically based world that we're in, and some of the jobs, and plus it's also saturated too. Yeah. So there's not a lot of work out there. So you could create your own and try to, which I'm trying to do, recently, and writing some stuff and just getting myself involved as much as I can. Always taking class, always trying to sharpen, always reading about it, and taping yourself and watching the films and just being a student of it.
Well, I like that ability of being a constant learner.
Always.
That's a very important quality. Good
always.
for you.
It should be in anything, right?
Well, we hope so.
We hope so.
We hope so. I mean, that's really a key to success.
Sure.
Who would you listen to as far as vocalists? Were there vocalists that you listened to emulate? You mentioned Sinatra.
We always talk about the 2 Franks in my house, Sinatra, Valli. I mean, growing up, for some reason, I connected with opera. My parents were like, why does he like this music? Young. So Pavarotti was one of my favorites. Beautiful. Domingo for his passion, Carreras. And then I liked a lot of eclectic stuff. I love like Native American chant and the vocals that come up from Tibetan throat singers. I also, John Bon Jovi was one of my favorites. He actually became a friend of mine recently, because he has Katie Agresta.
Yes.
So I keep it kind of to myself, but we're really close buddies. Beautiful. And like I was able to emulate and try to match what he's doing, and he was always somebody that I always looked up to as a kid. Yeah. Babyface, D'Angelo. I loved like neo soul and R&B.
Yeah.
There was just so many different artists, and then Frankie Lyman, going back to those days of the Doo Wop, that world. And so Johnny Maestro was just. I like big voices. Yeah. I like the ones that kind of make the rafters ring.
That's fantastic. Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge.
Man,
I mean, those are songs that they played.
I know his family, and they're dying to get him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I just think it should happen at some point, man. Because he was the man. His voice was
great band years ago when I grew up. We used to play the stuff. It was really, really fantastic to hear.
I'd love to watch you play that stuff.
On the acting side, who would you say the acting side influenced?
Montgomery Clift to me was like the original method actor. James Dean is obviously he's my favorite. When I was a child, man, my mother would buy me all the calendars and stuff. And there was just something that I connected, maybe that boyish charm, or like I like the ones that are in pain. I like the ones that are wounded. I like, recently I don't really know. Heath Ledger was good. God rest his soul. That's the other thing I talk about the industry a lot too. It's almost Brando. Those guys don't really exist anymore. Yeah. It's very corporate. It's very, accessible, I think, a lot, and the performances you're getting. So you got a guy like Joaquin Phoenix. He's like one of the last of those guys where you watch him and you're just like, this guy's troubled. Yeah. I want to watch that guy because he's troubled. You know what I mean? Or a woman, for that matter, too. So
there really is some great role models that you've chosen to model, which is really a fantastic skill. Yep. To have, as I did it with drums, which is a very, very important part of the process. Of
course.
Tell me about the Doo Wop band. How did that start about?
So I was doing Jersey Boys, and my close friend Dominic, another Dominic. So that would be 4 of us with your son.
The best.
The best. 2, 4, or my dad would be 5 down. So him and I, he was Tommy DeVito, and it was like love at first sight. We're like 2 Dons. We're on the same floor, and we had this affinity for Doo Wop, and I would come into his room, literally, he tells a story when we do the show, and he's like, Dom would run into my room, like in his underwear with his mic going, bro, we're going to start a Doo Wop band. We're going to start, as I did. I was like, well, let's just go sing on Sunday and Monday, we'll make a little extra money. It was just a small idea to go, sing in certain restaurants and stuff, and then we got a booking agent, and we had 16 gigs, and we're like, how the hell are we going to do these gigs? We don't even have a show, So we went to my father's brain, and we wanted to do the obscure stuff. We wanted to do like Oh Rosemarie, That's My Desire, Morse Code of Love, not Blue Moon, Still the Night, which are great songs, but we wanted to look like, the group that just walked off the corner that can steal your girlfriend and maybe get into a fight with you, but have a drink with you, but also sing the best doo-wop ever. That's what we wanted.
Beautiful.
So we picked those songs. We had the show. We started in the Steel Stacks. You ever been up there in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we had a gig out there, an outdoor gig, and then we was like, wow, we have something here. And then it turned into 30 gigs, and then 40 gigs, and now we had 100 gigs last year. It's called the Doo Wop Project. It's guys from Jersey Boys and Motown. Nobody is the star. We weeded out anybody that wanted to, stand out in the front. So everybody's a lead singer. We have the true bass singer. Sonny Palladino's our musical director. You're going to meet him, and he's the best.
Great guy.
And we travel the country singing this stuff. And what we also came up with later on, we doo-wopify some songs. Dwayne Cooper, our bass man, came up with that name. And we take some new songs and we make them doo-wop.
Beautiful.
So we're trying to bring it into the new generation. I never realized there's that much of a draw for this music. And also, I think you could be anybody and you hear 5-part harmony and you love it.
Absolutely.
It just has a cool thing. So we're seeing like kids young as 10, girls and boys, like walking around snapping and trying to sing stuff. We're like, wow, we really have something here. So it turned into a company and an LLC, and now we just have this thing. We just signed with Paradigm Agency. We're poised to maybe do a PBS special in Detroit in a year.
Beautiful.
So we're trying to get some funding for
Beautiful.
it. So it's been this, I shouldn't say stupid, but this crazy little idea that turned into this company, and we've employed like hundreds of people, because the cool thing is what we do is we keep the door open. There's 5 regular guys, but if they want to go do a play or I want to go do a TV show or film, we could have a sub come in that played Frankie. So we made the show the star, so nobody's really looking for anybody else, so the show can connect and grow and always last.
This has a following that will only build, because people still talk about doo-wop music and how they can relate to it. Of course, the natural sound of voices, that beautiful blend of sound, relates to everyone.
It does. Our bass man, again, Dwayne, I talk about him a lot. He's a very enlightened person, but he talks about how it really just brings everyone together, colors, creeds, races, everyone, because that's how it was in the corner. They kind of were singing together, and everybody stole certain voices, and everybody wanted to do this kind of thing, and there was no animosity. It was like, if you could sing, just come on the corner, we'll sing. We'll sing together. And that's the beauty of the Doo Wop Project. That's what we try to do. The Crests, where we talk about Johnny Maestro, they were the first integrated doo-wop group, right? So we that's like our model, because that's how we are. That's how we model ourselves. And we're like a walking political statement. It's awesome. We go to some of these places and we're like, this is what it could look like if we all just get along and everybody take a verse.
What a beautiful message is really what it is. Well, you have a very natural sense of music. You have a very natural sense of your animation. It's really, really great. I mean, listen, you were born for this.
Yeah, man. Thank you for saying that.
Really.
Sometimes you have to be reminded. It's not easy,
It really is.
It's not an easy business.
And sometimes in this business, when you're given a gift like yourself, which is really very, very natural, we don't know sometimes if it's a blessing or a curse.
There you go. That's true.
So we have to kind of keep in mind that this gift that you have is something which, when you performed, and as I was there with my wife and we heard you, it was just so wonderful to hear. And the people that were in the audience were just absolutely loving it. So the message is being heard.
Thank you.
And your gift is being used. So the object now is just to keep on pursuing this.
That's it.
And with the Doo Wop Project now, you performed even with some symphonies too?
We did. So we were doing a gig at 54 Below recently, just on a whim. We're like, let's do a New York City gig. We don't do a lot of New York City gigs. And came this gentleman named Jack Everly, who is the premier conductor at the Indianapolis Symphony. He came and was like, let's go see. There was nothing going on. It was a Monday night, and they were like, Doo Wop. And they walked in, and he grabbed me in the lobby, and they said, we want to build a symphony show. And I went and told Sonny and Dom, I was like, these guys, and they knew who they were. I didn't.
Yeah.
But this is Jack Everly. He's the man. And he did. He built this symphony. And so we've been with, God, I think like 10 of the biggest symphonies. Omaha Symphony. I mean, we're going to do Philly Pops. They're building an American Bandstand show around us, and Indianapolis Symphony, Edmonton, Ottawa. And it's literally 60 of the incredible classical musicians playing dip, dop, dude, and like with their violin. It's sick. It's crazy. It's so cool to watch. It's something I would never thought would ever happen, and it's insane. And it's so much fun. Our next one is New Year's in Seattle, the Seattle Symphony. We're doing a New Year's gig with the Seattle Symphony.
How great!
It's crazy.
How do you choose songs with the band?
My dad, I always bust chops. Like he instilled a lot with my connection to him, because as I said before, I want them to be like, oh, that song. How do they know that song? Like Denise, you ever Denise, I got a crush on you.
Yeah.
I want the guy to go, what? Why do these kids know that song? So that's what we wanted it to be. When we come together as a consensus, there's 5 of us, you know, we know everybody's voice too, and everybody's so generous with themselves. Like, I'll sing that one, you sing that one, you'll sound better on that. So there's none of that, like, you know, I want to do this or whatever. But it's a lot of my father, like, you know, Jive 5 and like sitting in the basement with his glass of vin, saying, listen to this song and sit down, you know, or in his car when Cousin Brucey, you know, was playing.
The old Cousin
Brucey. Of course,
Brucey
the old 101.
WABC.
You know what I mean?
Oh my
father would sit there, and also for me, it makes me so emotional, because that sound is my father.
Yeah.
It's all he loves. He loves everything else, but that doo-wop sound is his thing, and it's like my dad is the most special person, along with my mother.
Yeah.
They are they've really broke them all. Everybody says that about their parents, and I will continue to say it about mine. They were the home base for my friends. I didn't even have to be there 3/4 of the time. If they had a problem, they'd knock on the door. My father would take them in, you know, and solve problems. So that's how I was raised.
But there's a lot to say about that family, that Italian family vibe, as I grew up with also.
Yep.
That everyone's welcome.
Yeah,
Listen, in our household, growing up as a kid playing with musicians, it was like the UN.
I'm sure that must
had
have been awesome to watch. I wish somebody had a video of that house.
It was amazing, right? So, and I think that's very, very powerful. And your parents are blessed in many ways. The fact that as they pushed you for what they want, the best for their children, what you're giving back to them now with the joy of what they've been able to experience is magic.
That's it, man. Watching my father like tear up when at the end of Jersey Boys every night, like, it was just, there's nothing better. And that's what you do. That you try to live your life not for them, but just to make them proud. Because what they've given up for my ability to sit in this gorgeous suite and talk to you is crazy. So every day I wake up and I try to give back to them, because they're that incredible.
How beautiful! How beautiful! You know, it's interesting. These young kids that watch these series that we put together, and part of the series was to give them information so they can meet people, to see that there are jobs out there and areas in the music industry that are potentially capable for allowing doors to be opened up for them to see what this is about.
Absolutely.
To balance music and acting is what you're doing, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
and create your own stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's tons of work out there for the right person, like you said, that wants to dedicate themselves and work hard and you know and become as good as they can. But there's so many avenues. It's
well, it seems like you do work hard at what you do. So
you have to.
This is an important message. So think about this in closing. If we're thinking about these kids that are out here that are looking at and watching this, what would you say to them to give them this hope and this motivation to pursue their dream?
There's one thing I always stand by when I talk to a kid. I say, you ever see a racehorse with the blinders on? Put them on. Get your own personal blinders from when you're little, and when you start training, do not compare yourself to anyone, because you are always in a competition with yourself. That old adage, that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. You know the deal.
Absolutely. Even
if you're competing and you're in an audition and everybody looks like you, they'll never be you.
Yeah.
Find your authentic side, or not. If you need to fit in, and that's what you need to do as a musician or a singer, find that version, but never compare yourself to anyone. And also give yourself time for everything. There's nothing better than losing. There's nothing better than missing. There's nothing better than cracking on stage. There's nothing better than losing a job, because that's where the beast is created. That's the guys I want to watch. I don't want to watch the kid that's been good at everything his whole life. He's boring. You know what I mean? I want to watch the guy that's lost stuff. I want to watch the guy who's crapped out and then comes back, because we love a nice comeback, right? So never give up. Find your own authenticity, but definitely put those blinders on, because if you keep worrying about the people around you, you'll never get your own thing going. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic. Well, you definitely have your own thing going.
Thanks, Dom.
It's a huge wave that's going on,
Cool.
and I can foresee in the future it's only going to get bigger.
Thank you, man.
So on behalf of the sessions, we thank you so much, Dominic.
I love
You've
it.
done
Thank
great.
you for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.